And the Gnostics had a completely different view of reality than religion, which is why the Roman Catholic Church and the Roman Church tried to destroy them wherever they got any strength and any foothold. A force they called the Archons, which they say created our physical universe, and they equated them with the Judeo-Christian Yahweh Jehovah God. And when you see the Old Testament kill 'em and flog 'em and all that stuff, God, it fits precisely with the descriptions of the Archons by the Gnostics. They said that the Demiurge Archons had no creative imagination and envy humans because we have. This reality that we're experiencing has been hijacked by a force that some ancient people call Archons, but there's different names right across the ancient world for the same force, the same entities. So this whole archontic system is about programming our perception, programming a distortion of our perception, an inversion of our perception, which is why we live in a madhouse, because it's an inversion of the natural order. I have no power is what the Matrix keeps telling us, and what the agents of the Matrix keep telling us. You have to look to authority. We have the power. Awakened, we have the power.
Since the dawn of civilization, we have looked upward, searching for the face of God. We built temples, altars, and empires, all in the hope that somewhere beyond the stars, a supreme being was watching over us. For millennia, we have been told that God is a ruler, a monarch seated upon a throne of light, commanding obedience, demanding worship, and rewarding loyalty with paradise. A cosmic king, a judge, a father. This image has shaped every civilization, every war fought in his name, every prayer whispered into the dark. But what if the God we have been taught to worship is not the source at all? What if the being we called God was only a shadow, a reflection of divine power distorted through fear and control? What if the true creator is not a distant ruler, but something far more intimate, infinite, hidden within every living being? Beyond that shadow, beyond the heavens and hierarchies we built in our minds, there exists a presence that cannot be named or contained. It does not command. It simply is. The silent pulse behind existence itself. The monad. The one beyond gods, beyond forms, beyond illusion. The source from which all arises, and to which all must return.
Now this, for me, was one of the great finds ever in terms of understanding the nature of what is happening. In 1945, a sealed jar was found with loads and loads of documents in it, leather-bound. They said that the Archons and the Lord Archon, which they called the Demiurge, was a fake god that created our physical or material reality as we perceive it. What the Gnostic texts say is that the Archons made a bad copy, as they describe it, of our original reality. The original reality was that kind of avatar world. The idea is was to create this illusory reality, then tuning humans into that bad copy. So you just decode a reality and you think it's real because it's the only one that you can perceive. They can manipulate humans by creating illusions. Once we get into this, we start to disconnect from the heart, disconnect from beyond time and space, and start to have this as the governor of our perception.
For thousands of years, humans have been taught to look outward for authority, to seek guidance, protection, and salvation from a God on a throne. We were told that this God controlled life and death, rewarded obedience, punished disobedience, and determined the fate of every soul. Temples and altars were built, rituals performed, prayers whispered, all in the belief that the ultimate power existed somewhere beyond our reach, beyond our understanding, beyond ourselves. But what if this God was never truly the source? What if the image of an all-powerful ruler was never meant to awaken us, but to keep us small, obedient, and afraid? What if the stories of divine wrath, heavenly punishment, and miraculous control were never about the infinite, creative intelligence of the universe, but about the distortion of perception itself, a shadow cast over the human mind? David Icke describes this as a matrix, a pervasive system that shapes how we see reality, how we interact with each other, and even how we experience ourselves. It is a matrix built from belief, fear, and illusion, designed to make us forget who we truly are. It runs on emotional programs that hold attention in the external world, where humanity learns to look outward for meaning, authority, and salvation, forgetting that all of these were meant to rise from within. Across time and culture, this matrix has been described in symbolic ways. The Archons of Gnostic texts, rulers who twist perception. The serpent gods of ancient myths, cunning and deceptive. The jinn of pre-Islamic lore, beings of fire that manipulate and confuse. Even the Anunnaki of Sumer and Babylon, or the demonic figures of early Christianity, share a common thread. They are always portrayed as entities who limit, control, and invert the natural order. According to Gnostic teachings, these archons were not evil in the sense of moral judgment, but incomplete. They lacked the creative spark of consciousness, the ability to generate life, love, or imagination. They could imitate, manipulate, and distort, but they could not create from nothing. Their power lies in deception, in crafting illusions so convincing that humanity forgets its own divine origin. These beings, these forces, can be understood in multiple ways: as mythic archetypes, as symbolic representations of human fears and social conditioning, or as projections of the ego, the part of consciousness that believes it is separate, weak, and limited. They exist wherever humans hand over their power to authority, wherever obedience is valued over curiosity, and where fear governs decision and perception. In effect, the external God, the ruler on the throne, is a mirror, a reflection of the ego, magnified by societies and institutions that have historically taught us that we are small, flawed, and dependent. Through this lens, the wars fought in the name of gods, the persecution of free thinkers, and the suppression of knowledge are not just political or historical events. They are expressions of a deeper pattern. A pattern in which humans have been taught to worship separation rather than unity, fear rather than love, obedience rather than inner knowing. They are a reflection of what happens when humanity forgets its own power, when we look to the outside for truth that can only be found within. Long before organized religion, before the idea of a god on a throne took hold, there were mystics who sought direct experience of reality. They were called the Gnostics, seekers of gnosis, knowledge born from inner perception. They spoke of the monad, an infinite, uncreated source, a boundless consciousness beyond all form and concept. From this source, all things emanate, flowing outward in waves of light and energy, gradually taking shape until the material world appears. The monad is present in everything, yet untouched by the limitations of form. It is silent, eternal, and infinitely expansive. In the unfolding of creation, a lesser force emerged. The Demiurge took form as the architect of the material world. Believing itself supreme, it sought to impose order, structure, and authority. Its vision was limited, its perception incomplete, and it shaped a reality bound by rules, separation, and hierarchy. Around the Demiurge moved the Archons, forces that cloud perception, energies that sustain ignorance and fear. They influence the mind, shaping thought, desire, and the illusions that obscure the awareness of the monad. Every attachment, Every obsession, every unquestioned belief strengthens their hold, dimming the light within. For the Gnostics, these stories reflected human experience. Each person carries a fragment of the Demiurge within, a part of consciousness that clings to limitation and separation. The Archons appear as the conditioning of society, the patterns of thought and emotion that distract from inner knowing. Awakening begins with remembrance, the moment the soul turns inward and recognizes its own light. The spark of the monad, long hidden beneath layers of illusion, resides in the heart of every being. Through inner vision, conscious breath, energy work, and the deep release of what the body has held for lifetimes, those layers begin to dissolve. What once felt distant becomes unmistakably near. The infinite source becomes recognizable, a living presence, silent and radiant, guiding consciousness back to unity. Jesus walked through towns and villages carrying a flame that no institution could contain. His teachings awakened the soul rather than commanding obedience. He revealed a kingdom not built of stone or ritual, but of consciousness, accessible in the here and now. "The kingdom of God is within you," he said, directing every seeker to the source of power and truth inside themselves. His words, "You are the light of the world," remind us of the divine fire already alive in every heart. He walked with those who were rejected by society, lepers, tax collectors, women shunned by rigid laws. In each of them, he saw the reflection of the true human potential, a spark of divine intelligence waiting to awaken. When he spoke to the Samaritan woman at the well, he described water that wells up to eternal life, a living stream of consciousness flowing within, not external salvation, but direct communion with the divine. Jesus' words were coded in parables and teachings designed to bypass the rational mind. He understood that true awakening cannot be forced. It must be remembered. Each story, each metaphor, each encounter carried instructions for reclaiming inner sovereignty. "Greater works than these will you do," he told his disciples, promising that the capacity for miracles, transformation, and creation is inherent in every human being when consciousness awakens to its own truth. He challenged the divisions that kept humanity fragmented. The religious authorities built hierarchies to control, teaching separation between flesh and spirit, sinner and saint, human and divine. Jesus showed that unity, wholeness, and direct access to the divine are the birthright of every person. He embodied the principle that freedom, awareness, and love are inseparable from being itself. Throughout his life, he demonstrated what is possible when one transcends fear, conditioning, and illusion. Healing the sick, walking beyond limitation, manifesting creation. These were natural expressions of awakened consciousness, glimpses of the state every human can access. His teachings were not a call to worship him, but a guide to awaken the same light he carried. He revealed that silence, observation, and inner attention are the gateways to this awakening. Prayer and ritual serve little compared to entering the stillness within, observing the mind without judgment, and noticing the awareness that witnesses all thoughts and feelings. "Before Abraham was I am," he declared, an invitation to recognize the eternal presence that exists beyond time, the same presence alive in every conscious being. Jesus confronted the structures that would obscure this truth. He knew that direct access to the divine makes a person ungovernable. The power he carried threatened hierarchies built on fear, guilt, and dependence. The wisdom of the Gnostics preserved his teachings in hidden texts, the Gospel of Thomas, Mary, and Philip, encoding practical pathways for inner liberation for those ready to awaken. These teachings were considered too dangerous to be widely known. They revealed that every human being has direct access to the divine, that no priest, church, or institution stands between you and the source. They showed that the kingdom of heaven is not a distant realm after death, but a living state of consciousness accessible here and now. What Rome feared was not Jesus himself, but the realization that this same power exists within every person. To contain it, they built structures around his message, doctrines, rituals, and institutions that shifted the focus outward and framed devotion as obedience. The spark of awakening became obscured, buried beneath authority. It survived in secrecy, carried underground through centuries, often forbidden, yet preserved for those who could receive it. As a result, most people today feel powerless, separated, and small. A systematic conditioning erased awareness of who they are, and this forgetting was enforced and weaponized by structures of control. They turned Jesus, who showed the unity of human and divine, into a distant authority. They framed the path to God as something only reachable through intermediaries, while the truth is that it is realized by becoming what he embodied. Salvation was treated as a transaction, instead of inner transformation. People were taught they are born broken, sinful and unworthy of direct access to the divine, and that they must earn what is already theirs. The external authorities hid your power, your direct access, your birthright. Through conditioning, manipulation, and distraction, they led people to surrender it willingly. Every time you say, "I'm just human," you deny your own divinity. Every time you think, "I could never do that," you limit your potential. Every time you seek God outside yourself, you strengthen the illusion of separation. But the moment you realize you can enter the monad directly, the moment you see you don't need their intermediaries, their entire structure collapses. Through his teachings, Jesus showed that awakening is a personal journey. He spoke to the soul of the individual, not to the crowd. If you bring forth what is within you, what you bring forth will save you. If you do not bring forth what is within you, what you do not bring forth will destroy you. Each person carries this responsibility. The seed of awakening, the flame that no empire, law, or institution could extinguish. Jesus' mission was completion, not creation. He came to dissolve division, to awaken humanity to its own divinity, and to show the way beyond illusion, fear, and separation. The monad is not a distant ruler, nor a concept to be studied. It is the ground of all being, the silent source that pulses beneath the surface of everything. Jesus' words, his parables, and his presence were invitations to recognize this reality within yourself. The kingdom of God is within you, points to the living consciousness that exists before fragmentation, before separation, before the illusions of control and fear took hold. Entering the monad unfolds in steps. First comes silence, the still point where awareness separates from noise, where the mind softens, thought loosens, and attention turns inward. You need no rituals, intermediaries, or permission. Sit, breathe, let the constant noise of the world fade. In the stillness, observe the fragmented parts of yourself without judgment. The anxious, the skeptical, the restless. See them clearly. Then ask, who is observing all this? Who is aware of every fragment? That awareness is the true you, whole, unbroken, indivisible. This witnessing marks the beginning of unity. Through sustained presence, your consciousness begins to collapse its separations, like pieces of a puzzle rejoining at the center. The mind, once scattered by conditioning, begins to cohere. Second, unification of inner fragments, gathering all that was divided, integrating the self across time, memory, and even past lives. This step involves learning to love yourself fully, to forgive yourself and others, to release judgment and embrace every part of your being with compassion. Healing, acceptance, and remembrance arise together. Third, the opening of inner channels, allowing energy to move freely through the body, breathing into every place that resists, softening what was closed, and bringing attention to the gateway of awareness in the forehead, feeling it pulse with life. The center of your forehead, the point Jesus called the eye, becomes a focal gateway. Focus not on visualization, but on awareness itself, the felt presence between the eyebrows, deep within the skull. With each inhale, energy gathers. With each exhale, it intensifies. This is the opening of perception beyond the ordinary senses, the awakening of a direct link to the source. As this process deepens, a subtle pressure begins to rise, a sense of expansion, a pulling that draws consciousness upward through the crown. Do not resist. It may take days, weeks, or months, depending on how deeply conditioning has shaped the mind and body. The sensation can be intense, even disorienting, as awareness begins to lift beyond the familiar limits of identity. Yet this is the passage, the merging of the finite into the infinite. The energy gathers, builds, and begins to pull you toward the higher current. As awareness crosses that inner threshold, boundaries blur. The sense of I begins to dissolve. This moment has long been misunderstood and feared. The true initiation hidden beneath dogma and control. It is the experience that institutions sought to suppress, because it makes you sovereign within your own being. Jesus said, "If your eye is single, your whole body will be filled with light." The eye is the portal, and the light is consciousness awakening to itself. You are infinite awareness experiencing a human form. This is the living monad. When the crossing completes, awareness returns, still in a body, still in this world, but changed. The mind becomes quiet, the heart steady, and the presence of the monad unmistakably alive within you. Fourth, the surrender. When consciousness expands beyond form, beyond identity, into the field that holds everything. As awareness rises, layers of illusion begin to fall away. You start to see the lies, the stories of separation, guilt, and limitation. The dogmas of church and society, the quiet lies whispered within the mind, all become transparent. What was once hidden can no longer remain unseen. Then something reawakens. Intuition sharpens. Perception opens. The boundaries between thought and manifestation thin. What once seemed supernatural reveals itself as your natural state, the state long suppressed by systems of control. Freedom begins to radiate through you, and that freedom becomes a quiet threat to all that feeds on obedience. No longer can guilt bind you. No longer can fear dictate your choices. You remember that you are already whole, already divine, already one with the source. And yet, the old programming does not vanish easily. It echoes through familiar voices. People insisting you've changed, that you've lost your way, that you should return to what is safe and ordinary. But these are the last echoes of the illusion, trying to draw you back into the familiar cage. Stand in your awakening. Let the energy move through you fully, through the crown, through the body, through every cell. The monad calls you to remain awake within the world, free, clear, and alive. And finally, fifth, recognition. The moment you remember yourself as the monad in form, the infinite intelligence of creation breathing through you. When this activation unfolds, you become visible energetically. Your light begins to register in the field, and not everyone will celebrate your freedom. Some will feel unsettled by it. Others may try to pull you back into the familiar patterns of limitation. Do not force. Do not rush through extreme practices. The portal opens when you are truly ready, when consciousness aligns in sincerity and balance. Forcing it only creates false openings, distortions that lead to confusion or imbalance. Stay grounded. This is not about leaving the body or escaping the human experience. It is about bringing the monad through your body, becoming a living portal, fully present, fully aligned, fully you. It is also about entering into the true I am, the eternal formless awareness that underlies everything, all that is, rather than the egoic I that clings to identity, possession, and story. This recognition moves beyond the fragile self defined by me and mine, beyond the dramas, fears, and conflicts that arise from that fixation. Awakening to the eternal I am is a shift from reactive attachment to effortless presence, from endless striving to simple being, from the illusion of separation to the direct experience of unity with the source of all life. Every moment of awareness is an opportunity to reclaim what was erased. The world will continue to present distractions, doubts, and limitations, but the portal remains. Each act of presence, each choice aligned with love and truth, strengthens your connection. You are no longer dependent on external authorities. You are sovereign, fully awake, and in direct communion with the Source. Jesus' teachings and life are a map, a proof, and an encouragement. He showed the possibility of awakening, and his invitation remains alive. The monad is not a prize to be earned. It is the reality of your being, waiting for recognition. As you enter, your perception shifts, your intuition awakens, and your actions radiate harmony with the deeper order of existence. You begin to see the hidden patterns, the subtle energies, and the underlying intelligence of life itself. The crossing into the monad is the end of separation. It is the reconciliation of all that is within you, and the dissolution of illusion. It is a return, a remembering, and a living awakening. As you move through it, you realize that the divine is not somewhere else. It is you. It is life. It is the pulse behind every moment. This is the true teaching Jesus came to reveal. The kingdom is not above. It is not distant. It is immediate. It is yours. Direct, unmediated, infinite. The throne of God was never in the heavens above. It has always been in the human heart. I hope this brought you clarity and support on your path. Thank you for listening.